Barnyard Buddies is back. It's time for a very special Thanksgiving episode. It all started when Tom Turkey got an invitation to Farmer John's Thanksgiving dinner. He was so excited to go because he heard they'd be serving corn, which Tom just loved. But there was a small problem. Every year on Thanksgiving, Farmer John served one of his animals as dinner, and this year, it just so happened to be a turkey. Tom had managed to avoid being selected for the last 3 Thanksgivings, but now his luck had run out. Tom tried to come up with a plan to save himself, but nothing seemed to work, and that is until Bessie the cow suggested he disguise himself as one of the pigs. "You're about the same size as Percy Pig, and I bet Farmer John wouldn't even notice," she said. Tom wasn't too keen on the idea, but what other choice did he have? So he went into the barn to look for something to wear. Meanwhile, Farmer John was busy making signs for his annual pie auction. He hoped to raise enough money to buy some new tractors. Then he noticed that one of the signs read, "Pick up extra large eggs daily from the chicken coop." It didn't make sense. His chickens didn't lay any extra large eggs. But then he spotted a very suspicious-looking crate hidden behind some bales of hay. Curiosity got the better of him, and he opened the crate to find a note that read, "Follow the leader to find the extra large eggs." Confused, Farmer John decided to follow the leader. But wherever he went, the leader seemed to get away. It was a game of cat and mouse, but instead of a cat and a mouse, it was a farmer and a piece of paper. Farmer John gave up after a while and returned to his pie auction, which was about to start. Just then, Henrietta Hen clucked loudly and walked right past him, carrying an enormous egg under her wing. "What's going on here?" asked Farmer John. "Where did that egg come from?" Henrietta just clucked again and laid the egg down on the table, before joining the other chickens. It was at least twice the size of a normal egg. And as the auction began, the other animals gathered around to watch in amazement as Farmer John started bidding against himself, trying to keep the price down. But the more he lowered the price, the lower his own bid became as well. Before he knew it, he'd bid $50 for the egg. And although no one else wanted to outbid him, he still felt a little uneasy. Maybe he'd get in trouble for wasting his money. Just then, Priscilla Pig trotted over and asked what was in the box. "Oh, just an oversized egg from one of my hens," said Farmer John. "Want to make a bid?" Priscilla thought for a moment. "Well, I've always wanted to try making a cake with an extra large egg, but I never could find one. How much did you say it was?" she asked. $50, replied Farmer John. Priscilla reached into her pocket and pulled out a handful of coins. "Here you go," she said. "I'll take it." She carried the box over to the kitchen to see what she could make. Dawn. In the meantime, Tom Turkey had found the perfect disguise. He put on Percy Pig's clothes and even drew on a tail with some eyeliner. Then he joined the other pigs, who were happily munching on apples. Tom tried to blend in, but Percy soon returned and asked what was going on. "Why is there another pig here?" he asked suspiciously. Tom quickly took off the tail and explained his plan. "Don't worry, I won't, and tell anyone you snuck into the house last night and stole all of my corn," he added, hoping Percy would feel guilty and change his mind. But Percy just snorted and walked away. Tom sighed. If Percy didn't care about stealing corn, he certainly wasn't going to care about being framed for looking like him. So Tom removed the pig's outfit and decided to improvise. He grabbed some leaves and made a pair of horns. Then he tied some yarn to them and fashioned himself a lovely blonde wig. Finally, he dabbed some makeup on his face and put on a pair of sunglasses. "Voila," he exclaimed. "I may not look like a cow, but at least I don't look like a pig anymore." As the minutes ticked by, Tom grew more and more worried. His disguise was itchy and uncomfortable, and he was certain that Farmer John would figure out it wasn't really a goat. Then he heard the front door open and saw Farmer John enter the kitchen with a plate of freshly sliced apple pie. "Would you look at that?" he said. "Priscilla, you made a wonderful pie. It's almost exactly like the one my mother used to make. In fact, it reminds me so much of her that I think I'm going to make her the very first slice." Priscilla gasped. "What? But you haven't even asked Bessie yet if she wants any," she said. "After all, she's the one who offered up the extra large egg." Farmer John scratched his head. "Oh, right. No, but I'm sure she won't mind. After all, it was just an egg." As Farmer John approached Bessie, he noticed that she was staring at the pie and drooling slightly. "Is everything all right, Bessie?" he asked. I just can't help myself," she stammered. "This pie smells so delicious. Would it be all right if I had just a tiny slice?" Of course, said Farmer John. In fact, why don't you cut the next slice and we'll eat together? Bessie eagerly agreed. But as she approached the pie, she suddenly stopped. Actually, you know what? She said, I'm not really hungry. Why don't you take the rest of the slices out back and feed them to the goats? They love apple pie. That sounds like a great idea, Bessie, said Farmer John. Thank you so much. Carried the pies out back where he found Goat, George, Henrietta, Priscilla, Percy, and Tom waiting for their treat. As the animals enjoyed the pie, Tom couldn't help but notice that Henrietta was acting very strangely. She kept taking little sips of water and glancing nervously over her shoulder. He decided to approach her and ask what was wrong. Are you all right, Henrietta? He whispered. I'm fine, she whispered back. I just need to lay an egg. An egg? You already laid an egg earlier, said Tom. I know, but I need to lay another one, replied Henrietta. What are you talking about? Asked Tom. Don't you realize we're in danger? The only reason that farmer is giving us food and treats is so that we put on weight so he can eat us. Those pies weren't free. We paid for them with our lives. Tom couldn't believe what he was hearing. Was Henrietta suggesting that they'd all be killed and eaten? But then he remembered what Bessie had said earlier. The only reason that farmer is giving us food and treats is so that we put on weight so he can eat us. Was it true? Had he been tricked? Determined to get to the bottom of this, Tom went to see Farmer John. He knocked on the door and said, Excuse me? Come in, said Farmer John. Tom entered the room and asked, Do you eat your animals after they die? Startled by the question, Farmer John stammered, What do you mean? Of course not. Tom wasn't convinced. Then why does your sign say pick up extra large eggs daily from the chicken coop? He asked. Farmer John's face turned red with anger. I only wrote that to see if someone was paying attention, he snapped. And it seems like I wasn't wrong. Are you implying that I'm going to kill one of my animals for food? I'm sorry, Farmer John, stuttered Tom. I just want to make sure I wasn't planning to eat one of the animals. That would be very wrong. It's wrong to imply that I'd eat my animals, said Farmer John angrily. You should be more careful with your words. Do you hear me? Tom nodded quickly and ran out of the room before Farmer John could change his mind and have him for dinner. Tom raced to the barn and told all the animals what he'd learned. We're not going to be eaten, he said. It's not Thanksgiving, not here anyway. The animals cheered and celebrated with a big feast, and everyone lived happily ever after. Oh, maybe not quite. Because the next day, Tom was helping out in the barn when Farmer John came in holding 2 golden pumpkins. Who here likes pumpkin pie? He asked, and the animals all looked at Tom. It's your turn to bring dessert, said Percy. That's all for today, Barnyard Buddies. Please subscribe and leave a comment below to let us know what you think Tom should have done to avoid bringing pumpkin pie.